My name is Samantha Kennedy. I'm the Executive Director for the Promise of Justice Initiative. We are a Louisiana-based frontline civil rights organization fighting for the freedom, dignity, and autonomy of people harmed by the carceral system. Today, we are standing in front of the federal court in the Middle District of Louisiana, where one of the most critical trials of our era is taking place. The question before the court is whether Louisiana is going to continue resurrecting slavery to harm incarcerated people. The state of Louisiana controls the bodies of human beings inside its prisons and systematizes humiliation and the stripping of their dignity. In Louisiana, incarcerated men are forced to work in fields on what is known as the farm line, at great risk to their lives, to their health, and are forced to do so at the threat of violence, being put in the dungeon, degraded, and humiliated. This trial follows years of investigation, working with currently and formerly incarcerated people to understand their experiences, the issues that so few of us can see or have access to, all of which has allowed for robust litigation. When we think of the atrocities of the past, in this instance, chattel slavery, I think there is a common tendency to cast judgment on those in the past as less enlightened than we are today, or to make excuses for harms, saying, well, that was back then. That was the past. But when we look at the farm line, it is clear that in Angola prison, slavery never ended. Men on the farm line today are treated and used as beasts of burden. And as Dr. Toss, medical director of Angola, said, men on the farm line are subpar human beings. The farm line trial, Vote v. LeBlanc, is part of Promise of Justice Initiative's End Plantation Prisons project, an ambitious call for a different future, a call for a future where everyone is deserving of dignity and autonomy over their own bodies, and where the legacy of slavery exists only in history books and not in the nightmares of people subjugated to the state. Today, we will hear from Samantha Pouchot, Senior Staff Attorney of Promise of Justice Initiative and lead attorney for this case, Lydia Wright, Legal Director for Rights Behind Bars, Joshua Hill Jr., Litigation Partner at Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, Donald Arbonat, Deputy Director of Organizing for Voice of the Experienced, and also Association Plaintiff for the lawsuit. Dr. Jasmine Jackson, Co-Executive Director of the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, and then finally Norris Henderson, Executive Director for Voice of the Experience, and also Associational Plaintiff for the lawsuit. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Samantha Pouchot. I'm a Senior Staff Attorney at the Promise of Justice Initiative and lead counsel for this case, Vote v. LeBlanc. I am proud to partner with my colleagues, Vote, and the brave plaintiffs who brought this case to change the realities of their lives and those of others. The plaintiffs in this case have endured realities at Angola prison that many of us cannot begin to imagine. This class action lawsuit challenges the farm line at Angola. The farm line is a punishment where men are forced into former plantation fields under dangerous, dehumanizing, and humiliating conditions that echo slavery. Our clients have described toiling in the sun, bodies in pain and health at risk, planting and harvesting crops without tools, digging in the dirt with their hands and on their knees, all under the threat of violence. Angola, an 18,000-acre former plantation, has controlled and exploited captured Black people for hundreds of years, first during chattel slavery and today through incarceration. This week in court, we presented evidence that the farm line violates the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment and endangers people in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. We heard from expert witnesses, prison officials, and most importantly, the men who are forced to work on the farm line. Class Representative Joseph Guillory testified that the prison guards frequently called him boy while forcing him to dig potatoes with his bare hands, on his knees, and forced him to perform degrading tasks like watering crops individually with a styrofoam cup. Incarcerated witness Stephen Major described tour buses passing by the worksite, making him feel like he was in a zoo, waiting for someone to throw him a peanut. Chidarius Moorhead described the recurring nightmares he experienced while He was forced to work on the farm line. He explained that after being forced to work in the pecan grove, "I had a dream. I see bodies hanging like they've been lynched on the pecan trees. As I got closer, I realized every one of them was me." None of this is acceptable, not in the time of slavery and not in 2026. Every person has inherent dignity, both morally as a member of our human community and legally under our Constitution. That dignity does not disappear at the prison gate. We are in trial this week and next to end the dehumanizing and degrading practices of the farm line once and for all. It is remarkable that in the year 2026, we must put the institution of slavery, the farm line, on trial, but that is what justice demands. We look forward to presenting the remainder of our case. In closing, I'll share the words of Class Representative Darius Williams, who's sitting at council table with us today, said that being forced to work those fields feels like the past never ended. It just changed its name. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lydia Wright, Legal Director of Rights Behind Bars, and I will be brief. It is not a revolutionary concept in 2026 that work should be compensated. It should be meaningful. It should be safe. And it should be voluntary. And our brothers and sisters on the inside deserve no less. And this case is showing, and we will prove, that the U.S. Constitution does not stop at the front gates to Angola Prison. Thank you for being here.
My name is Joshua Hill. I'm a litigation partner at Paul Weiss. I'm standing here representing a team of a dozen Paul Weiss lawyers, paralegals, and staff that are honored and privileged to be a part of this case. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of the moral universe is long, but I think this case shows that it will bend towards justice. The evidence that we've presented in court this week and will continue to do next week show that as the farm line currently operates, it is a threat to human safety, it is an assault on human dignity, and it has no place in modern society. It is a relic, it is an anachronism, and we believe it should be swept into the dustbin of history. Thank you.
My name is Donald Arbuthnot, and I am a Deputy Director of Voice of the Experience. I just want to reiterate some of the things that has already been said, but there are two things that I like to stand out. My experience, lived experience with that farm line in Angola, it was a very degrading practice of forcing incarcerated men in a servant-master relationship on a plantation, present-day Angola, to work under inhumane conditions of humiliation, physical threats, and psychological harm. And I've experienced every one of those things, and I've seen other men experience these same things. And a lot of those same men didn't make it out of Angola because they couldn't deal with those conditions. A lot of them didn't make it out during the times that I was going through this right here. And one other thing I like to say is that system today perpetuates daily psychological, racial trauma of slavery, which you have heard all through this hearing, that is deeply rooted in the punitive, degrading history of white supremacy. And I experienced that. And even to this day, that same system is in place. And one of the things I like to say, the farm line adds nothing to public safety. It never did. It wasn't a place that you were sentenced to go serve out a sentence and be rehabilitated. It was for punishment, just punishment. And it was done in the worst way it could be done. Thank you.
y'all. Want to make sure y'all see my in the farm line. That's what we're here for. Okay, so I'm Dr. Jazz, and I'm with the National Black Food and Justice Alliance. We're a coalition of Black-led organizations that are focused on food sovereignty and land justice. We're grounded in community agreements like self-determination and radical ecology, meaning that we uphold non-extractive, environmentally regenerative practices that seek to restore the health and balance of relationships between the earth and humanity. So let me tell you why the farm line at Angola Prison exists directly in opposition to these principles. First, it's an 18,000 acre modern day plantation where incarcerated men are forced to dig ditches and plant crops by hand without any appropriate equipment or concern for their health, all under the threat of armed guards. The farm line, it's dangerous and dehumanizing practices of forcing incarcerated men, especially Black men, into these plantation fields to work under conditions that are intended to simulate chattel slavery. It's unsanitary. Incarcerated men have been told to use the restroom in the field due to the severe control and oppressive labor practices leading to the burning of crops instead of consuming them and contributing to the food system. This creates waste and perpetuates capitalism, and the food does not go into the food system. The farm line at Angola is a form of prison labor that is solely based on punishment. You heard that. It is not the production of actual crops or learning transferable farming practices. Incarcerated people at Angola are forced to endure this grueling labor and earn 0 to 4 cents an hour, even after years of work. I was just speaking with a person who's working in the agriculture industry, and they named that it's degrading that agriculture as a career overall, and that due to the punishment, that this is actually creating a societal disconnect of our food and our farmers. So lastly, the farm line does not provide any beneficial skills to those formerly incarcerated as they re-enter society. Many of the men who leave Angola want nothing to do with agriculture after being subjected to such humiliating and traumatic conditions for years, if not decades. Interacting with soil actually triggers the brain to release serotonin and other happy chemicals, which acts as a natural antidepressant and stress reliever. The farm line, it stands in direct contradiction to this therapeutic practice due to the punitive and inhumane conditions that incarcerated laborers are forced to work under. Farming is meant to feed and heal communities, not to be harmful to them. So let's continue to fight to end this modern day chattel slavery, exploitative practice that's also known as the farm line for good. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Norris Henderson. I'm the Executive Director of VOTE, which is the acronym for Voice Experience. And I want to open with another quote by Dr. King. And Dr. King said, in times of controversy, consensus acts as if popular, cowardice acts as if safe, but conscience acts as if right. And so that's why we're out here today, because we believe what we're doing is right. I want to thank all of our legal partners from PGI. I want to thank Samantha, I want to thank Lydia, I want to thank Joshua and their whole team. I want to thank all our agricultural partners that are out here supporting this, because without y'all voice, our voice is just a voice crying in the wilderness. And so there's a saying about truth, and truth was on trial today. And I think for the most part that we saw that these folks are just trying to hold on to a system that they have already acknowledged there's no value added to the people who are working in the farm line. And so, for this to be continued, I'm hopeful that we'll make the inroads that we're trying to make with doing this work. But we're here till the last brick fall. Our motto is no surrender, no retreat. No surrender, no retreat. And so we're here. This fight is going to be our fight until it ends. And so our other motto is we're willing to fight one day longer than them.